Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Hello and welcome to Creative Ghettos, the show that explores various creative industries and profiles the Africans who push them forward. Each week I spend 30 minutes unveiling excellent and inspiring individuals within creative industries, including but not limited to fine and contemporary art, architecture, design, food, film and literature. My name is Gwanelo Gunene. Thank you for joining me right here on brandlive.co.za. Turning lead into gold, these are the workings of an alchemist. Thabiso Mahlape, the founder of Blackbird Books, can be described as an alchemist. After studying engineering for nearly half a decade, she turned her sights to the publishing industry and was left unemployed for years. The moment she stepped in, though, she shook up the industry by publishing one bestseller after another. And 3 years ago, she made a leap into starting Blackbird Books, the publishing company focused on unapologetically telling stories written by Black people. Thabiso, welcome to Creative Ghettos.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I want to first, start by getting a glimpse of who Thabiso Mahlape was before the Jacana internship. Where are you from? How did you grow up? What are the things that inspired you as a young kid?
So I grew up in Limpopo, Polokwane, Seshego. It's 5 minutes outside of the city. And what inspired me, I'd have to go back.
Yes, let's go back. We want to get to know who Thabiso Mahlape was.
So I don't have a lot of, and I was telling someone this the other day, that my life has kind of settled around me being very obsessed with my mother.
Okay.
So what I tie my childhood to is her, because she passed when I was 12. So I kind of count my life by when Mama was alive and when Mama wasn't alive. So those are the details that have stuck with me. So and everything else seems to have fallen away. It's like out of the 12 years, she's the only thing I've held on to. I do know though that when I started reading, it was because I needed to teach myself English urgently.
Teach yourself?
Yeah, because I was in a township school, so you learn, mom loves dog.
Okay. You won't bluff.
Yeah. So I had made like a really bad error trying to speak English and embarrassed myself hugely in front of an audience. So I wanted to take that power back. So what I did was I started reading my dad's newspapers, and then I got tired of them, because newspapers and the news and the adult stuff, and I was like, oh man. So, and I don't know I don't know how you started reading, but I lived in a world where books just arrived, like they were traveling books. Maybe someone came to visit and left behind a book. I don't know. And I just fell into these Reader's Digests.
I see. Yes.
Did you get Reader's Digest?
Yes, we had Reader's Digest for days and years.
Yeah, and I know my mom didn't buy them. My dad wasn't buying them, so I don't know where they came from, but I had them and they were there. And so that's how I first learned how to get lost in a story. To live in an imagined world and have that be your escape. And then I used to go to Saturday school. I don't know do you know what Saturday school is?
Church? Is it related to church?
No. So it was so it was sort of a, I guess, business opportunity for like white teachers back then in the 80s, 90s, where they would come into the township, hire out to school, and then offer Saturday and Sunday, but I think it was just Saturday, but we're doing mostly English and maths. So we're getting extra classes. Okay. And you know how it is in the township, if there's something new that seems a little prestigious, all the parents want to be seen taking their children there. So I went to one of those. But the primary school that had been hired out for that was just next door to a high school that had been burnt down in a protest of some sort. But the library had been left intact. So what I could do is every Saturday when I walked back home, I could go past the library and grab as much books as I could take. And then the next Saturday, and then the next Saturday.
So you were really diligent with this reading stuff because it doesn't just happen.
No.
Especially if you're not surrounded by other English speakers, it becomes even harder.
I really loved it. I couldn't believe that some people out there could create a world where I could find myself, because even when the work is not quite representational of who you are, like largely, but the human element is there. Whether it's a child that's being bullied, and I was bullied a lot in primary. So there was always something to find. Like the resonance was always there. So it was I just, that's how I got into reading. I got to high school and I was in boarding school, and that's when I started writing. And I would write stories. I would make up stories and write them in a 2-quire notebook, the ones with the red margin. I'd do that, and then I'd sort of operate like a mini library, because people would loan the notebooks out.
No ways.
Yeah.
They would learn your stories out.
Yeah. So I'd have to keep track of who has it now, and then I used to call myself Meg T then.
Who's Meg T? Oh, Meg T, you. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I used to call myself Meg T because my English name starts with Mag.
And I suppose you're not going to tell us.
No, I shan't. But yeah, so that's how the writing thing started.
Yeah.
And by the time I did metric, I knew that I wanted to do something. I wanted to write. I wanted to be in a world where I could write. Okay. Go.
Yeah, and you studied after high school. You studied engineering for 4 years. That is a pretty long time, and in my mind, you are a qualified engineer in my space, anyways. But then you made the switch to publishing, and you went through a period of unemployment. And I'm not talking 6 months. I'm talking almost 3 years of unemployment. And this is something that a lot of graduates go through. Tell us about what life was like when you weren't being hired for that period of time.
I was very depressed. Very suicidal, because when I started engineering, when I started, all my friends were starting something. So when I quit engineering to go start publishing, they were flourishing. So by the time I was sitting there unemployed, everybody's life was kind of together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're the friend that gets, everyone's like, okay, can we split Thabiso's bill?
And at first it's fine.
And it's cute, and you feel loved, and then you just start feeling like a burden, So those terrible years. They were probably the worst years of my adult life. Yeah.
But what were you working on at the time? Was there anything that you were working on that
I was eating.
Okay. Just like that, plain and simple.
But I did like odd jobs, I'd freelance, translating for education publishers. I did some odd admin jobs, and they just killed me.
Yeah.
The admin jobs especially. So the freelance work I did kind of gave me hope that I could get an in into this thing that I wanted to go into.
Yeah.
But the admin jobs were not.
I completely relate to that, to doing odd jobs that really kill your spirit, and then you have to make that final decision that okay, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the internship at Jacana Media opens up for you. At that point, were you already thinking Blackbird?
I wasn't, but I saw Facebook memories are such a. They can be very disappointing.
Trust me, I know.
Look, they can be very disappointing. You could be sitting there all day thinking, wow.
Yeah.
I used to be that girl. But there was one that came up July of this year in July. That's when I started working at Jacana. And as literally a week or two into the job, into the internship, and I Facebooked, I said, first week at new work, or second week, or something like that. And I said, I hope I do not shine them.
I win.
I swear. I swear to God.
This was before your boss was your friend on Facebook.
Yeah. Ooh, because that came.
That was going to be a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happened.
Wow. And you did. Sort of. Yeah. In your own way, you did.
I did. I think I outshined. I think my realities have outshined my expectations more.
And that period while you were, from intern to, I don't know which point in your time at Jacana did you decide that I'm going to start Blackbird, because you started as an intern and I assume you didn't start Blackbird as an intern.
No, so it was marketing intern, junior publisher, then Blackbird. Yeah.
Okay.
So Blackbird was 5 years after, from intern, 5 years to Blackbird.
Okay. So while you were at Jacana, you were just out there spewing out best-selling books, titles such as My Father, My Monster by Macintosh Polela, Malaika wa Azanya's Memoirs of a Born Free, Bonnie Henna's Eye Bags and Dimples, and Zoleka Mandela's When Hope Whispers. And that's just a few of the books that were bestsellers under your leadership. Can you tell me, if when you first read a manuscript, do you know, firstly, that this is going to be a bestseller? And secondly, what pushes you to ensure that a title is successful?
So you see, with the titles that you've mentioned, with those ones, I knew they'd be bestsellers. I mean, the stories were powerful, but I knew they'd be bestsellers. And I think where I am now with Blackbird is, my question is this book important?
Okay. In what way?
Is the story important? Does it need to be told? Does the writer, is it important to give the writer this platform? So it's all about impact for me right now. So it's about, I'm at a place where, I mean, and it's funny because those books that you mentioned almost got me pigeonholed into a celebrity publisher. And because our industry is very tiny, so you get like gossip at dinner tables. So I mean, and a lot of the gossip would get back to me, and people were starting to pigeonhole me as a celebrity publisher, and which is where, I mean, I don't know what I am now, but
the baddest in the building.
So what I do now is, when I was working at Jacana, you when you work for someone, you get given targets. You need to meet targets, and those are in monetary value. So you need to publish towards that, and I think a lot of my publishing decisions were around that. So even though the stories would be important, but I was still working towards a margin. And now I'm at a place where I want to make long-lasting, impactful work. I want to work towards archiving a certain time in place. So if I find that, to me, and I publish largely for myself as a reader, so the stories that I would want to hear, I publish for a girl who, like me, didn't know that a thing like publishing existed. And that books could be made in South Africa. I publish for me as a reader who does not like coming across words like binary and cishet, and they don't know what the hell that means. So I try, and so I would like to think that I want to publish for the masses.
Okay. And the books that I listed, most of them are autobiographies. Is that what sells in South Africa mostly? Autobiographies as opposed to fictional stories? Because I know with Blackbird you have released a string of fictional, which is great. I love that, know. Yes.
I'm poorer for it, but yeah.
See, that's exactly what I wanted to know. I mean, autobiographies seem
autobiographies sell. Because people, I mean, voyeuristic as a nation, as people, we want to know how the other half, the perceived other half, is living. We want to get into people's heads. But I think what I've discovered as a publisher is that people tell more truth in fiction than they do in nonfiction. So that's why my line of work is sort of now is leaning more towards fiction. I enjoy that more right now. It's where I am. And also because I feel like there's a responsibility to allow as many creative writers to come into the space as possible. And once that's achieved, maybe there's moving on. And I don't know what moving on looks like right now. But I do know that I'm at a place where I want to work with young writers. I want to work with writers who are kind of questioning and being innovative around what the idea of a book is, what the idea of a narrative, what narratives look like. because we live in a world right now in South Africa where the decolonial conversations are happening a lot, and the idea of a book by its very nature is it's as colonial as things get.
Yes.
So if we are to continue working with this medium, how do we begin to claim it and make it ours, in a way that looks like things that we want to consume? So
all right, we're going to take a really short break. I'll have more with Thabiso Mahlape after the break.
Live from 27 Boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za. Making a bold statement yet blending into the surrounding suburbs of Melville, 27 Boxes is a realization of edgy design and practical implementation. A radical departure from the shopping malls of our generation, yet not a return to the high streets of our youth. 27 Boxes showcases the best of a shopping centre set in a garden, surrounded by the bohemian suburb that is Melville. 27 Boxes, shop, play, eat. You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
Okay, we're back with Thabiso Mahlape, and you are listening to Creative Ghettos. So Thabiso, as I mentioned, is the founder of Blackbird Books, and the company, it's a publishing company which publishes books written by Black people. Now, I don't think a lot of people are open about being Black and seeing Black creativity being blatantly rejected by a minority group, which to varying degrees still maintains control of the South African economy, if not internationally as well. And especially in a country that is predominantly Black. Did you ever have doubts about Blackbird's sustainability and whether the titles would reach the hands you were intending them to?
did I ever?
Yeah.
I still do. I still do. I worry about it a lot because like I said to you, I want to imagine myself as a publisher for the masses.
Yeah.
But the masses do not walk into exclusive books.
Yeah.
And just because
Why?
of location, the main reason, first of all, location. I want to start doing away with this books are expensive thing because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because do you know how much Ververich is?
Veuve Clicquot, the...
Yes.
No, how much? You tell me.
Like over $1,000.
Okay, and people buy bottles and bottles.
Yeah, people
and
are popping
bottles.
bottles everywhere on my timeline. Like, no, so leave me alone with that.
Yeah.
Books, like my books are, I don't have a book that's over 250 at all, ever. And even at 250, I'm like, ugh, I wish I could make it, cheaper. But if the production costs are high, there's nothing you can do. So that for me is not a factor on why people aren't buying books. It is to like a small extent, but we shouldn't be making the main reason. But I feel like we aren't able to sell to people in the way that people like to consume things. So if you look at the Tupperware model,
Okay.
have you ever seen a Tupperware jangle?
No.
An advert?
No.
An advert? Like nothing, right?
No.
Do you know where their shop is?
Everywhere. Next door, if you want.
Exactly. So I find that that's where we're failing. And it's tricky because not only is the industry wide, it's very old.
Okay.
So so our urgencies are not the same. Right now I can't. So the thing is, white people.
What do you want to say?
White people with their privilege, their poor is not equal to our poor. When you're saying, "Oh my gosh, I actually really this month,"
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah.
When they're saying things are bad, they still can afford a leg of lamb every now and again. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So when I say that I don't want to subscribe to, doing work that you're passionate about doesn't necessarily bring you money. But I love money. I love this work. I love money. Can they mix? Yeah. And I don't have some inheritance waiting for me somewhere. So I need for this to work. So you can imagine that's not the same urgency that someone who's 65 and white and has a holiday home somewhere has. We don't have the same.
So what needs to change in terms of our, in terms of Black people's relationship with books and buying books and even selling books? What needs to change?
I think government has a big role to play. in that, just infrastructure in places where people are, and filling those places with the right kind of reading material. There is absolutely no reason why you should still be finding a Shakespeare book in a township library.
Hallelujah.
Why?
Why?
If you've got Nakhane, if you've got Panashe Chigumadzi, you've got Unathi Magubeni, you've got Thandom Qolozana, you've got all these writers that are coming out, and you're still making them read Shakespeare. How many are going to come back to come read that Shakespeare? So it's that, for me, I think, is pivotal. I think we need to start selling to people in a way that works, so again, so we don't have a real Pan-African literary kind of connection. So when you read books, Tsabo Chimamanda, for example, you're only getting them because they must go via the US or the UK. Yes. So a lot of the Nigerian writers that we consume, and a lot of the people that we consume that are like West African, East African, the books have to go via the US or UK before they come here, and they're very expensive when they do. But it's because we don't have channels to sell to each other. Mostly because if you send your stock to Nigeria, you may never see your money.
Aye.
Wabo. But if in this continent, right, one person, now there's a new big player. I mean, Rwanda is doing great.
Yes.
Okay? So, but, traditionally, if anyone in this continent was going to make anything like that happen and work, it would have needed to be South Africa. We are the one that sit with the most developed kind of infrastructure and right? But if you take it back 10 years from now, do you think that the white publishers that we're working with had any interest in that? Like, they didn't have the interest to develop a Pan-African channel.
Yeah.
But the European channels are very strong because they go there every year. They go to Frankfurt, they go to London, they build relationships, they cherish those, they nurture them. So that's what we need as well. We need an African ideal situation that, then that begins to filter down to each country. We're the only country that doesn't even read. People read. There's a girl in Kenya who likes to laugh at me, says, "Konje what are your bestseller numbers again?" And I say 3,000, and she just bursts. She can't take it.
Yeah, someone actually told me last week. I was speaking to Loyiso Langeni, who owns Book Circle Capital, and he was telling me that the highest selling book is about 5,000 units.
Yeah, that's if you're nonfiction. Okay. And you sell 5,000, you're a bestseller. If you're fiction, you hit 3,000, you're a bestseller.
Wow. All right. Now, I also want to speak about Bonang Matheba's autobiography, From A to B. For me, from a business side, this is such an important story to tell. I think, we neglect to see that businesses go through stumbling blocks, and we have to, finding our way out of what we were in is not so easy. So the book's initial release was surrounded by negative reviews, mostly for factual and grammatical inaccuracies. From a business and personal perspective, what was the impact of the negative press? There was.
It was. It's very difficult when you can't reconcile what's happening to what you know to be true. So that is, for me, what the impact was.
Yeah.
I was saying to now with Professor Mayeni, is it Mayeni? The one that died,
the one that just passed away.
Yeah, I was saying that. So there was years that the media jumped onto the fullest cost, his depression thing, but I also don't think that negating it works or is factual, because you can't hurl abuse at someone and then expect them not to suffer consequences. Yes. So if you've got a person sitting there who cannot reconcile what is being said to them versus, with what they know to be true, that causes a big trigger. If it's someone that does live with depression, that's going to cause a big trigger. That is a life-changing moment. So yeah, it does. It changes. It impacts you negatively.
And in hindsight, what most did you appreciate about the experience of having such almost unnecessary, an unnecessary amount of public backlash.
For the first time in South Africa, even people that don't read were talking about a book.
Okay. Yes. Yo, I really wanted to get in from a personal perspective, because those are the things that make people afraid of doing anything. The fact that there may be public backlash or any sort of backlash when you put out something that carries your name, and
it does make you a little scared, but you also you go through things and then you realize that what, the only thing that ought to feel like death is death itself.
Amen. Girl, you better preach. All right. I just have 2 more questions for you. One thing that I definitely want to know is what keeps you focused on your vision and your inner peace, as well as the work that you want to share with the world moving forward. What's that thing that just grounds you and keeps you?
It's a bundle of energy, inside a 4-year-old little girl. It's my daughter.
Your daughter.
She's the reason I eventually took the leap and did Blackbird Books, because I wanted to do more for her. I wanted to create a legacy for her. I wanted her to know that she could grow up to become anything she wanted in the world, and I was going to be her first example.
All right. Okay, and lastly, when it's all said and done, how would you like to say you lived your life?
Truthfully.
Yes.
I want to go through life being true to myself. I want, if I die laughing, I almost died yesterday, I wasn't laughing, but if I die laughing, yeah, but if I die laughing, and I want people to remember me for my honesty, for my truthfulness, and for my laughter, because I can't say people must remember me for having been happy, because no one is ever in a constant place of happy. So truthfully. Yeah, truthfully.
Okay, Thabiso Mahlape, thank you so much for coming through to Creative Ghettos, and congratulations again on Blackbird's 3-year milestone. You can purchase any one of the books published by Blackbird on www.jakana.co.za, and if you're in South Africa, Exclusive Books carries titles by Blackbird Books. Otherwise, we might just be doing the Tupperware exchange.
We should.
Yeah. All right, to find out more about the Africans who drive various creative industries forward, make sure to follow Creative Ghettos on Instagram at Creative Ghettos. My name is Kwanelo Kunene. Join me again next week, Friday, from 2 to 2:30 p.m. for another impactful show. Bye for now.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za